Hello and welcome to Present Arms. This is just a short look, a tutorial if you will, and an overview of the PClinuxOS control panel. Now, for those who don't know about the PCLinux control panel, it is a control panel where you can control your system settings. And that little buzz there was just my phone going off at the most inopportune moment. Anyway, I've muted that. Nothing serious happening there. So, to get to the control panel, down on your taskbar you should have this icon here. It says configure your computer, or you will find it in settings. This is my normal install, so I have a lot more programs installed. So I'll just start it from there. As you can see, it's asking for root authentication, because this isn't setting up your desktop. It's not going to be setting up your Windows or display managers, etc. It's not for that. This is for setting up system things, and you will see. So it's asking me for my password, which I will duly give it. Okay, the first things it opens up, and it has categories down the left hand side, and under those categories we'll have different items in the big window on the right hand side. Of course, we've got file and help. Under file we just quit because there's nothing open, and that may change depending on the applet that you choose to use. Anyway, we'll start off with the software management. Of course, it says install and remove software, and when you click on that, that brings up the Synaptic package manager. So of course you can install and remove packages as you wish. Now I installed a package here that I don't actually need at the moment, the ABCD. So if I just do that, if I do ABCD, and that would be the one, the top one there, because I don't even have a CD drive in this, and I was going to show you, but anyway, I installed it so I could just do this for you, and there we go. That's that package removed. What you do. So there you go. It's where you can go to update, of course. For those from Debian will know. But for the new user, this is how we install software in the Linux room. We use a GUI application like Synaptic. There are others, of course, or a software center of some description to install packages, or we can do it by CLI, the command line interface. Anyway, moving on, we have sharing. And what sharing does is you can configure an FTP server, and you can configure a web server. So you can be up and running with your own web page, your own little website, in no time at all. Or if you wish to have a file server over FTP, that is, you can configure that here as well. This is not to be confused with other file sharing such as Samba, NFS, or even cloud. This is actually your own personal FTP server. And you can, from the network services, of course, you can configure DNS. This is a DNS server, not the DNS client, so you don't put in this window 1.1.1.1. This is where you can actually configure your own DNS. If I click on that, it tells me that once DHCP server is not installed. I don't actually run DHCP server. Of course, we can configure DNS as well, so you can do your own DNS server. And I did say DHCP, didn't I? It's when I was thinking about DNS, I said you don't put in 1.1.1, but no, you can configure this. So this is the DHCP server, so this will feed IP addresses to devices connected to this computer if you're wishing to use it as a server in that way. Anyway, we have a configure proxy, which will configure a squid proxy, so you can run your own squid server, your own proxy server. You can also make this computer the time setting auto config for all the computers in your network. So if the time accuracy on this is really good, and you have disconnected the internet, but you have all your other computers connected through the one PC to the internet for whatever reason. You haven't got a switch. You can use your PC to share the internet, and we'll come to that later. But you can configure an NTP server so this computer can serve the time and synchronize all the clocks on your network. We also have the OpenSSH daemon configuration, which lets you configure OpenSSH server, so people logging in, you can change the port number. So if they're trying to log in on Note 22, which is the standard, which is the default I should say, you can change that to 43 or just a number that isn't used and use a port on that instead. Under hardware, we have browse and configure hardware. This is akin in Windows, I guess, to device manager, where we can see, where we can see what devices are and what the modules. If I go down to like sound card seems to be a good one, doesn't it? Let me click on that. As you can see, you can run the config tool, and we can set up, change the driver, and you can run driver options where you can inject. I'd advise leaving that alone unless you really know what you're doing. I personally don't. I'll be honest with you now, I've never had to mess with the sound. I have with a television card back in the day, where you could change the board number from reference to another one, which had slightly different settings, if you will, to get the card going. This is where I've done it, and it was absolutely delightful. So anyway, this is your thing there. Of course, you can just change whichever. Change the lid switch, keyboard. All these are what they call human interface devices, the sleep button, the power button. And it tells you it's under model keyboard, and the video bus, module keyboard, etc. And you can see your memory, of course. Memory device tells you I've got a 4 gig stick there, and another 4 gig stick there, which is true because I have 8 gigs of RAM. Cool. Anyway, that's the hardware. Just think of it as like device manager. So we'll just quit out of that for a moment. We also have sound configuration. This is where you can turn off and on your pulse audio if pulse audio does not work for you, or you wish to use ALSA and OSS. And without uninstalling pulse audio, you can just click that tab there, click OK, and pulse audio will not bother you anymore. Even if it's still installed, you can uninstall it through Synaptic anyway, which will do the same job. Of course, you have advanced, so you can reset the sound mixer to default settings. Of course, you have troubleshooting as well, and it gives you some basic tips on how to get sound running if you don't happen to have sound when you first install. This is where you come to see if you can see what graph loaded and so on and so forth. But that normally isn't needed in any distro in this day and age, so just cancel out of that. We can set up a graphical server here. This is if your screen isn't automatically configured. You can set up the stuff here and change settings depending on what card you got, etc. Whether it be an Nvidia and FX and 28 exact, etc. Now you see these seem to be pretty limited here, but if the Nvidia drive is installed and running on your computer, they do show up. You can change a lot of stuff there. Okay, let's quit that. Setting up keyboard layout. Of course, I'm in the UK, so I have mine at UK keyboard and 105 international, but you can change your keyboard layout. So if you have a Macintosh, just for instance, or a MacBook Pro, you can change that, etc. I won't be changing my keyboard, I don't want to really mess it up. Mouse pointer, device, mouse, touchpad. You can set that up here as well. I've just got up setting the USB 2 mouse, and next just sees it as a Synaptics pad, which it is. So there we go. We can set up the printer and printer queues, set up the scanner of course. It's searching for configure scanners, it won't find one because I do not have one plugged in. But with the following scanner, laptop webcam, here's found my webcam because it's on the same bus. Okay, we'll just quit that. Of course you can set up printer queues and you just set up your printers here. And you can set up uninterruptible power supply monitoring. So if you do have a UPS installed on your thing, you can monitor it. That's basically all it does, monitors a UPS. And it tells me that the NUT server needs to be installed. You want to install it, which will go away and download the software for you and install it for you automatically, and then possibly run you through a wizard. On the network and internet, this is where we can set our networks. We have the basic network center. This is just a basic one for setting up and configuring wired and wireless internet. It's the one that's actually in the box down here. If you see where it is, internet is up on 110, there we go. And so you can do manual configuration, all that kind of business. Traffic accounting, allow users. You can go to advanced and search demands, IP settings. You can go pretty heavy in this little manager, but that isn't the only one we've got. Oh no. We'll quit out of that. We have this one. Not only can we set up wired, which is our normal Ethernet, we can do DVB satellite, which is digital video broadcasting. We can do cable modem, DSL, ISDN, GPRS, Edge 3G, Bluetooth, and analog pots, which is your good old 56K, 28.8K, etc. Of course, we can manage different profile names. We can also remove a connection, and if you remove a connection, this will drop me off the net, so I won't do it. But you can actually remove the connection if you now require to actually use that specific connection again. It can be deleted there. Under proxy, you can set up your proxy server. Your proxy configuration for the client. So if you are connected through a proxy, you can set it system wide here, so you don't need to go into each program. You can also set the proxy server to let through certain things where you don't need a proxy. You can share the computer with other machines. Now for this you need to have your firewall turned off in the PClinuxOS thingy, so cancel that. And if you wanted to share with another machine, in security, when I'll get down to it, we can turn off the firewall and you come back here. You can share the internet because it uses IP tables to share your internet through packet forwarding. And then you can change there before you need 2 network cards as well, obviously, because your computer will be turned into a router. That's exactly what it does. And then you can configure it from there. You can manage different network profiles, so you can have default and you can have new. And of course you can please specify the name of the one to be created, etc. It's probably based on current sense, so we have to configure that as normal afterwards. So it just creates another profile, and then you can edit the profile to do your whim. So if you're on 2 different networks or whatever, you can sort that out. At the same time, 2 different networks at the same time. Because of course, so you can split your IP addresses and that kind of thing. Of course we can configure the VPN. We have Cisco VPN concentrator, and we have OpenVPN, and you can configure those from there. There are other VPNs, and you can go through their configuration tool on how to do that if you're not with either using the Cisco or the Open one. And the host definitions are exactly that. It's just a quick way of editing your host file and accept hosts. On the system we have authentication. This is different authentication types. So most people using Linux on the desktop are just logged in by using the local file, whatever username password you gave the machine at install time or post install, whichever being the case. But there are some times where you want to take the laptop into work or whatever, and they're on a Windows domain door, so you have to log into the Windows domain. So you can change that to a Windows domain there, and you can therefore then set up your user name and whatever on the LDAP Kerberos Windows main or local file. I'm just going to leave it as local file, but you see what I'm saying. At least some of you will. Okay, here you can manage the system services. These are system services running by boot and the daemons, and which you want to be started at boot for troubleshooting, etc. You can turn certain things off or start certain things, like for instance I have wine stopped. I do not need wine right now, so it isn't. So I did stop it from booting at boot. It just takes a bit of memory, but if I do want to use something from mine, such as Virtual DJ, which is a Windows program, I can start the service. I have it started on boot, but I did stop it earlier and didn't restart it. So you can click start and you can see it's running, and that's that done. So there was no errors, so I can kick out of there. Okay, we can add and remove Windows fonts or import Windows fonts. So we can import here. So if you have one of these, back in the day we used to have CDs with about 4,000 fonts on. Do you remember them? I remember them. They were brilliant. But anyway, you could import those, or if you're dual booting, of course, and you have Office installed and it's got a lot of fonts installed and you want those fonts to be shared with the PClinux, you click on Get Windows Fonts. I do not have a Windows partition on this machine. It is strictly a Linux box, but you can get the Windows fonts that way as well. You can just tick on it and it will import the fonts from the fonts folder under Windows directory. Okay, that's pretty much it really, and of course you got options and you can choose the Office bogus fonts might hang the X server. It just gives you a little warning there, but you can say Ghostshift can use them and generate printers, but you can also choose LibreOffice, and yeah, why not, and all that. I'm leaving it as default because LibreOffice has its own fonts, but you can use these with it as well. Right, we'll close that because I haven't changed anything. And there's manage date and time. Oddly enough, it manages the date and time. It's where you change your time zone, your clock, and of course there is an app in TDE to do it as well. But for those without, because this control center is in every single PClinuxOS, whether you're running KDE, Mate, XFCE, LOQT, Trinity, XFCE I already mentioned, Chrome now, or LXD, whichever desktop you happen to be running, OpenBox, Fluxbox, etc. This is like a little app that runs all across that. All the tools here run across every PClinuxOS and should be installed with it. Okay, we can also manage localizations, so I've got mine set to England, and of course we can use compatibility of UTV-8, and you click next, and of course you can download other packs, different languages. It says English there, and it gave me a few English ones. English is English UK rather than English United States, but we have language packs for these, so for the localization in your country, which I will cancel out of. You can search your system logs. So you've got this hang up. Instead of you searching the logs by hand in the command line, you can just come in and say, okay, wait, there's some kind of package English on. I'm not quite sure if that'll pass now because I haven't got anything matching up here. So just use that just for, I'm not quite sure whether that'll work because I'm not sure whether it's going to pick up any errors, but it has. He's saying share personate script for Sherlock tool, .log, and so on. And it says got XP connection error, return true, systray. Yeah, can't find it. Oh, cannot be running through. It was exiting. Oh, that was because it auto loads into it auto loads here. As you can see, that's my, so I'm actually as a user at the moment. So that's working quite. I don't even have an HP thingy, it's just because I installed it with the OS. And it's telling me silly things. So, device on the connected to device on network. That's because I have none, that's why. And you want to follow steps, blah blah blah. Anyway, it tells you like. But that's basically what it is. It's a log viewer. It does what it says on the tin. It views your logs. Console as administrator, of course. Do console to try and fix stuff. If you really need a CLI, it's there. Of course, you don't need to open the control center to get to another admin control center. SU works. So, but it's there. It's there. Manage users, of course. You can do that through CLI, but as you can see, you can manage users, so you can add a person, which I will do, and I'll just do it by computer name, and then I can, there we go, and we can just add the person there, like so, and it will create the home folder, and so now we have 2 users on. So, sorry about this, Mr. Dell, but you're going. Why? I don't know. Where you going? So anyway, when you want to delete a user, delete your girlfriend off your PC because you've broken up and you want to rub all the photos off there and everything else, and you know, you're in a right bad mood, and you know, using explicitives about personal hygiene and so on and so forth, all that business. Or for a lady with a boyfriend who's cheating or whatever, blah blah, whatever. Or it's just like a chap that's had to leave company, going on to better things, etc, etc. You see what I mean. You can delete the home partition, delete his mailbox so nobody else has access for them. Poof, gone. Okay. I was a bit down there, wasn't I? Wow. Anyway, we can also import documents and settings from, say, other Windows documents and settings into your Windows system. This will go to your users, document folders on your Windows system and import anything from there. Your letters, you get what I mean. Spreadsheets, etc, etc. All your Windows documents. Okay, now we have network sharing. This is where we can either access Windows shares, drives and directories. This is the client side. So if you have another computer, Windows 10, XP, 7, 8, 8.1, etc. With some like where you share their files, you can access them from here. But if you want to share the drives at a local computer, this one that I'm using, you can do that too, and you can, I don't know, sample server, but you can share your files that way as well, your directories. You can also do it through NFS, which is Network File System, and again you can either access an NFS share on another computer, or you can share the drives and directories using NFSS from this computer to other computers. WebDAV shares and directories, you can access those from here as well and set those up. Local disk, we can do 2 things here. We can manage disk partitions. This is quite a clever and nice partition editor. A lot of people use gparted. Gparted is great for some things, better than the PCC one, and PCC one is better than another gparted for another. For instance, now you see I have home here, but just supposing, right, I had 2 drives, and on this one here is like my root partition, it was extended all the way over, right, and for whatever reason, right, I buy a new drive, I put it in, I want to put home in that, and I've got hundreds of files on the home partition, so what could I do? Well, I could insert an external hard drive, copy all the files off the home disk and partition this, but no, on this I just click on it and then I can create a new one, give it a main point of home, and it will ask you, do you want me to hide those files that were on the old home, because old home was still on this big huge partition here, which it doesn't exist on there, obviously, because mine, just for instance. Or would I like to copy them? Oops, I've just shown my right. Copy them to home. So you choose copy, and it will copy every single file from old to new, then mount it on as home, and that'll be your new home. Nothing more to do. It will do it for you. Brilliant piece of kit. Brilliant. Share your hard disk partitions. Of course, this will allow you to share some of your directories, some of their directories. Then this will permit simply click on share in Concrete and Nautilus. There we go. And security. This is where you can set up your firewall and set up authentication tools. Now, this is where you can set up stuff for other users. So if you're got a user and he wants to use a different, say, network, you can tell him that, yeah, okay, you can use that under his user password. A bit like using sudo, I guess, but you can use it. You know, I'll leave it as default. So you can use individual tools within the control center per user, and just say, yeah, you can use it as a user. You don't need to log in as root. You know, you're obviously not going to do that for set up other people or whatever. But that's what this is for, and it's rather cool. You know, you can even do the boot configuration. You can do it under normal user. Don't need to be root. And it's called SU4U. I just normally leave that as standard, so everything needs a password if needed. Okay, and I will cancel out of that. Now, of course, our last category is boot. This is where you set up your auto login to automatically log in, which I don't do. I do. So there we go. Set up singly and set up singly, but I haven't got it set up, so there's only one user on here, but I can use failsafe. I've only got TD installed, so there's no point in me changing that. So I'll cancel out of that. Of course, we can set up the display manager. So at the moment I'm using GDM for my display manager, but if I want to change that to TDM or even XDM, which is a really basic display manager, we can do that as well. And if you install SDDM or LXDM, they appear there as well. You can just choose whichever one you want to look at when you log up and sign in as. And set up boot system is just that. This is the grub loader configuration. Grub bootloader configuration. I'll put my teeth in. Of course, you've got advanced settings there. So if it's not starting for any reason, this is where you can come and turn on, turn off, or whichever. You can also do that from the live CD and copy the config over, and it will just work. As you can see, I've got AirFi partition here and grub graphical, or grub 2 with text. I don't have grub installed or Lilo installed, although that is installable, or used to be. Anyway, I won't be messing about with that. Anyway, that's an overlook at the control center for PClinuxOS. I hope you've enjoyed it. It is very similar to the one that was on the Mandrake system that's still used, I believe, on OpenMandriva. It's very similar to that. And of course, Yaston. There are other tools that do a similar thing. Anyway, have a very good evening, have a very good night. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, excellent. If you haven't, oh well. Have a very pleasant evening. Good night, God bless.